And how about if America led the way in dealing with the crisis of global warming? How about if America, to establish its credibility in the world on this issue, we cleaned up our own act here at home? We're 4% of the world's population. We emit 25% of the world's greenhouse gases. We're not an example for good. We're an example for bad. That has to change in order for us to lead in a global solution to what is clearly a crisis. Here's what we ought to do. We ought to cap carbon emissions in America. We ought to reduce our greenhouse gases by at least 80% by the year 2050. America ought to invest in clean, renewable sources of energy: wind, solar, cellulose-based biofuels. America ought to invest at least $1 billion into making sure that we have carbon capture, carbon sequestration technology. We ought to put $1 billion into ensuring that the most fuel-efficient vehicles on the planet are built in the United States of America by union workers, not somewhere else. And last but not least, it is time for the President of the United States to ask Americans to be patriotic about something other than war. It is time to ask Americans to be willing to conserve in our homes, in our workplaces, to drive more fuel-efficient vehicles, to raise the fuel efficiency standards on our vehicles. It's not that we don't know what needs to be done. We know what needs to be done. And by the way, all these things are completely connected. What we do on global warming, think about this for a minute. As we move away from our addiction to oil, we use 22 million barrels of oil in the United States of America a day. 12 million of those barrels are imported. Think about what we're doing. We're financing regimes in the Middle East that are addicted to oil. They're not going to reform. They don't teach their children. They don't economically develop. Why? They're on a drug, and that drug is known as oil. And the places in the Middle East, like Dubai and other places where they don't have oil, they're in fact educating their kids. They're in fact engaging in serious economic development. They're making a real effort to become part of the outside world. So think about the impact of America leading the way in moving the world away from its addiction to oil. All of a sudden, we've taken the drug away from these countries and then these leaders that we don't want to deal with. All of a sudden, they have no choice. They've got to teach their children. They've got to economically develop. They have to become part of the outside world. And not only that, here in America, we have the land mass to support the crops that are necessary for biofuels, but not in Europe. As we move America, Europe, the Japanese, toward cleaner alternative sources of energy, biofuels, in Europe they're going to need it, and they don't have the land mass. So what will they do? Where will they get cheap land? Where will they get cheap labor? Africa. And all of a sudden you have millions and millions of people in Africa lifted out of poverty. Think about the impact. We have to understand the domino effect of what American leadership in the world means. What it means not just to us, but what it means to the rest of the world. We can actually lead a serious effort to make the world a better place, a more secure place, a stronger place. But we need a President of the United States who understands that these things are connected. We need a President of the United States who actually cares what the rest of the world believes and thinks about the United States of America. We need a president. We need a president who does not believe that America is the country of Abu Ghraib, Guantanamo, torture, the illegal spying on Americans. And by the way, on the first day that I am sworn into office as your president, I will close Guantanamo. And by the way, we also need a president that understands we have a dysfunctional health care system in America, and we need truly universal health care for every man, woman, and child in this country. And then finally, we need a president who understands that poverty is such a menace in the richest nation on the planet. We have 37 million people who wake up every day worried about feeding and clothing their children. In America, how can that be true? I met a woman in Kansas City a couple of years ago when I was traveling, meeting with families, and she said to me, I earned $9.50 an hour. She worked full time. She had several children, and she said, I cannot pay my heating bill at night. So what I do is I put my children under the covers, I wrap them in their warmest clothes, ask them to hug each other, and we make our way through the night. The next morning, I tell them as I send them to school, for goodness sakes, please don't tell your teachers what's going on here, because somebody will come get you. They'll take you away from me. And she looked at me and she said, how in the United States of America can somebody working full-time live like this? We're better than this. The United States of America is better than this. And we can do something about this issue of poverty if we're willing to do it together. How about a starting place, we just have a decent living wage for people who are working for a living? How about if we make it easier for workers to organize themselves into unions? How about if we make it easier for kids to be able to go to college? We know what needs to be done. We know what needs to be done. We just need the leadership and you to do it. And this is my final point today. You know, the truth of the matter is the next president of the United States is a critical piece of making this change, this bold change that America needs. But so are you. Some of you will remember John Kennedy and his famous "Ask not what you can do for your country" in his inauguration. Well, we are at that place again. To paraphrase Gandhi, you have to be the change that you believe in. If you want to see big, bold change in this country, your country needs you. It needs you badly. We need your help. We need you involved. We need you engaged. The great movements in American history did not start in the Oval Office. They started out across America. Many of them, all of us have seen. I grew up in the South, and I watched the civil rights movement grow. I watched it grow on college campuses just like this one right over here, where young people with strength and passion and courage stood up and spoke out and helped change this country. The same thing happened in bringing this war in Vietnam to an end. The same thing happened in bringing down a brutal apartheid regime in South Africa. The same thing is happening today in ending this war in Iraq. Your country needs you. Your country needs you to bring about the change that all of us need. So I want to say to all of you, I'm proud of you for coming out here on this hot Sunday afternoon. I'm proud of you for staying. We need you in this cause. If you've not yet signed up for this campaign, please sign up. Whatever you can give us. If it's an hour a week, we'll take it. We're about changing this country. And we're asking you to join us in this cause, in this grassroots movement, to bring about the change that America needs. We can do this together. If you actually want to live in a moral and just country that you can be proud of, and you want to see America leading in a moral and just world, then we have to do it together, all of us together, and together we're going to do it. God bless you. Thank you all so much for being here. It's wonderful for me to be here on my 54th birthday. Thank you all very much.
Now, first I have to say that was a little unclear. That was 54th, not 51st, right? Yeah. And not so fast about leaving the stage. We have something for you. This will be John's mother, Bobby. And his father, Wallace. And since it is his birthday, don't you think we need to sing happy birthday?
Oh, happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.